If people said what they truly wanted to say, what would they say about you? What's the story that people are going to share about your life? How are people going to share your name? And here's the most difficult part. Will they even care to share your name at all? So maybe you're not the one who wants your name to be shared, and that's okay, right? But I feel like working towards something, building towards something, being the type of person, whatever it is, that would cause your name to carry into rooms you're not in is something worth building towards. So you don't do it for the fact that your name will spread. You do it for the fact that as a consequence of that, of you becoming better, that will happen. So, you kind of set this question up as if, looking back on it, what would I have to do in order for people to share my name or to share what I'm doing so that I know that what I'm doing is worth sharing? You see what I mean? I had something cool happen today at the run club that I go to. Someone introduced themselves, I said my name, and then they must have heard it through the grapevine about the marathon challenge that I was doing, because they were like, yo, you're the one who's doing the 50 States, marathons. I was like, yeah, that's me. And it was a very cool feeling, nothing crazy. It was just like, I'm glad that the story that I'm a part of is shareable, is something that's interesting. Now, I had some imposter syndrome in the moment, because at the same time I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm not worthy of that. Like, for one, I haven't posted any of the videos. For another, I'm running super slow marathons. On top of that, all these other reasons why I don't deserve someone to talk about the experience I'm going through. But then I have to kind of catch myself. I'm like, okay, at least I'm striving for something. At least I'm moving towards something. And that's all that matters. You don't have to achieve the thing, but as long as you're in pursuit of the thing and actually making strides towards it, that's what people care about. Don't expect everyone to be perfect. If you can't expect others to be perfect, then don't expect yourself to be perfect. Hold yourself to a higher standard than you hold others to. That way, you can keep yourself in check, and you can actually start having the motivation to make strides towards that vision that you have for yourself. But don't allow this perfect dream to get in the way of celebrating a good thing. And then ask yourself, what things are people going to say about me? And yet again, confront the fact that maybe I don't do anything that's worth talking about. Will people even care to share my name? Am I memorable? Would someone share one of the things that I'm working on with someone else? Would it come up in the conversation? Not for the fact of being popular or, any of these things that are superficial, but for the fact that the thing I'm working on, the ways that I spend my time are actually being put towards useful projects, useful time. My time is not going to waste. So, it's a good check. There's a lot of questions like this that kind of help you to check, is what I'm doing worth doing, right? Is this aligned with my vision? Or is this, something that I should be doing? Should I be doing something more? Whatever it is that you want to try to figure out, it all comes back to would this make for a good story? So that's kind of how I've been living my life recently. And then with that imposter syndrome, I have to keep myself in check. I'm like, okay, well, you're doing this cool challenge, great. But what if people said what they truly wanted to say? Back to the beginning of this video. What would they say about you? What would they say about me? And so when someone says hey, you're the guy who's doing the marathons, well, I have to also sit down and check myself. And if people really knew my situation, what would they say? Oh, you're the guy who had the dream for, such a long time to be a content creator and is not acting on that dream properly, or at least not being consistent. You want to post videos every single week and you want to do this, that, and the other. And you say you want to do all this and you don't actually follow through. You're the guy who doesn't follow through. You're the guy who's a dreamer, right? Who comes up with all these big ideas but never takes action. You're the guy who has a lot of talk, talk is cheap, action is difficult. So you must be just someone who talks all the time because you're not capable of doing the difficult things. Not that anyone would ever say that about me, right? But the perspective, the motivation behind that perspective is, no one cares enough about my life to think that deep or to ever share that with me. So I have to ask myself these types of questions to solicit that mentality or that frame of reference or that train of thought, so that I can put myself in that scenario mentally to have that motivation or that reason to actually start taking action. So another way of asking this question is like, if someone followed me 24/7, if a camera crew followed me, would that make for an interesting documentary? Would I be able to teach other people something, or entertain or inspire, educate, whatever it is, that would I be able to do something? Is my time being put towards something useful? If yesterday, for example, if a documentary followed me, it would have been extremely boring, because it was me sitting down on my phone, neck hunched over, watching TikTok, because I didn't have a plan for the day, right? So yes, I have this marathon challenge. Yes, I'm doing these cool things, but what really am I doing? It's not that crazy to save up the money, be bold enough to go out and run a marathon. That's cool. Yes, I don't want to downplay that. But at the same time, to require myself to become better, it's like, okay, well, I've done that first step, but am I really becoming better? The person I want to become is a content creator that inspires the world through good ideas, shared in an entertaining format, in a very aesthetic video on YouTube or TikTok or wherever, right? And so I think if that's my vision, just, part of it, a little overview of what I want to build towards, are the challenges that I'm taking on today going to help me move towards that? Running the marathons is great. It makes for a great story, but it's not requiring me to become better in that category. The whole purpose of the marathons was to be able to go out there and run a marathon every single week, so that I can make a video every single week, so that I could become a content creator. And so then I have to keep myself in check. I have to say, all right, you've done the first step, but anyone could go out there and do that who's a runner and has some time on their hands. Not a lot of people would be able to actually pull their life together to the point of staying disciplined with making content to entertain the audience and share the experience with other people. The whole point of compassion is to suffer with, right? So one form of compassion is to be there for someone else. Another form of compassion is to share your story, potentially. I'm building this idea on the spot, so it could be entirely wrong. But to share your story so that other people learn how to, be in your experience of life, so that they can learn the things that they want to take, like a charcuterie board, I don't want to have a whole sandwich with Havarti cheese or whatever type of cheese. I don't really know that many, but I do want to taste test all these different samples, so I can see okay, well, I like this, but this one is kind of bad, and then now I know oh, well, actually I do like Havarti or any of these other ones. It's a bad example. It's a bad analogy, but you get the point, where it's before you eat the sandwich, take the taste test. One form of compassion is doing interesting things, sharing your human experience with others so that they have a better chance at finding what works for them, fully enjoying their life. And that's another way that you can be of service to others. It's if you're not living out your life to the fullest, how can you encourage your friend to do the same? You really do have a heavier weight on your life than you would think, just from your day-to-day actions and the influence they have on the people around you. It seems because for me, I'm just a 22-year-old kid that doesn't really talk with that many people on a weekly basis, has no, solid friend group, no consistent group of people that I can influence. It would seem as if the actions I take on a day-to-day are insignificant, but even though they'll go unseen, even though no one will ever know that I was just watching TikTok for those 6 hours or 3 hours or whatever it was, right? It's just that eventually I'll be in the spot where people are going to ask, so what do you do during the day? Or, people ask advice, so how do you get out of a slump? Or all these different things. And to be prepared for those moments, to help them know, hey, I used to be in this position where I would get kind of depressed or down and just watch TikTok and put off my tasks. But now I do X, Y, and Z in order to get out of that, to prevent myself from falling to that level. You see what I mean? Like the whole point of living in the shadows as you would in the spotlight is so that when you are in the spotlight, there's no, dirt on your shirt. When you live in the shadows and you're staying clean, let's say, another bad analogy, but I kind of like this thread of like the live in the spotlight as you would live in the shadows as you would in the spotlight. If you're staying clean in the shadows, then when you get in the spotlight, you can kind of show people like, hey, you see this scar? I used to blank. I used to have a bad habit of blank, but I overcame it. I healed. I, figured out how to move forward with my life, and now I'm better. Hey, you see this blank, this, that, and the other, this thing on my shirt. I don't know. Just putting ideas out there. So got to keep the mind flowing, because that's one way that I can at least stay consistent is empty my thoughts out so that I have access to them in the future, so that the time does not go to waste, because the time will pass. Who will I become? What will people say about me? What are the stories that they'll carry? Well, if I'm not self-aware to the point of understanding how I can shape the stories that people will one day share about me, then will they ever have significant, stories to share about me? If I'm not becoming self-aware today, will they have a good story to share tomorrow? That type of concept. So I need to ask myself these questions, because most likely it's just me. No one else is going to spend the time to talk for 20 minutes through these ideas. It's just me talking to me, teaching myself. You can do the same so that you can become self-aware to the point of shaping your destiny and understanding that it really is in your hands, so that you can shape those stories so that people will talk about the things that you're doing, not for the purpose of them talking about what you're doing, more for the purpose of helping them become their best self, teaching them what your human experience looks like, so that they might decide or have permission to go out there and try something similar. Because realistically, we're animals of habit and of permission. We don't want to take a risk. So if someone else does, now we have permission to go do the same thing. I started posting Instagram Reels, and then I'm starting to not really care about, if it gets any likes, whatever it is. I'm just doing it just because I want to post videos. That's all I want to do, right? Especially if I want to become a content creator, I kind of have to post videos. It's required of me. Now, what I've seen, and maybe this is me, maybe this is my friends, maybe this is just the people deciding, maybe it's just the way of the time. But whatever the reason behind these actions, a lot of my friends are posting their first Instagram Reel, which is a really cool thing to see, right? So whether or not I played a role in, pushing that forward or giving them the strength to do that, I can still have the confidence that at least the videos that I'm putting out are encouraging people to be themselves in some way, and to stop worrying so much about whatever everyone thinks, because realistically, everyone's just thinking about what everyone else thinks, which is like this whole system of like, no one cares. Truly no one cares, because they have their own problems to deal with. It's not that they don't care about you, it's that they just don't have enough capacity to care about the, minute things that you think are your world. So the sooner that you drop those things, the sooner you can put yourself out there, the sooner you can encourage others to do the same, to break down this whole, network of interwoven false ideas and worldviews, and then begin living out a fuller human experience. Be bold, be yourself, and ask yourself, what would people have a compelling story to share about me? And if not, what would I have to do to be worthy of my story being shared? So that I know that the time that I have on this earth is being put towards something good and worthwhile. Why not us?